Hi, Tenderheart. This is Miss Maggie, your Tenderheart unit leader, and this is requirement number 2 for our cooking badge. So we have to learn the different uses of a variety of kitchen tools, because although you're young, you can still do some basic things to help mom and dad in the kitchen. We're going to start out with the different things we use to measure. These right here are measuring cups that you would use to measure liquid. Believe it or not, there is a difference between liquid measure cups and dry measure cups. These measuring cups would be used for measuring things like flour, salt, sugar, cornmeal, pancake mix. If it's dry, one of these will be used for that. This, of course, is liquid, so that's milk, water, oil, broth, anything like that. And this one is particularly nice because it's angled, so you can just look at it and see the measure that you need. Of course, it does come in a variety of sizes. Sometimes it looks just like a big old pitcher with the markings on the side. We also have this measuring cup, which is used to measure things like peanut butter, honey, or syrup, because they can be a little bit sticky. What makes this great is that you can push and all of the stuff comes out, and you would just pull it down to the measure that you need. Very handy. Many stores carry something similar to this. Okay. Now with that, we also have our teaspoon and tablespoon measures. These are the same whether you're measuring liquids like vanilla extract or solids like cinnamon or salt or pepper. They're the same. Now these are neat. Sometimes they're individual for each measure: 1/8, 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, 1 full. This has all the measures in one. This big one pulled all the way down with all this space is 1 tablespoon. And as you move it up, that's 2.5 teaspoons, 2 teaspoons, and so forth, all the way on up to the smallest measure, which is 1 teaspoon. So this goes a teaspoon to a tablespoon. This is all teaspoons. This is a teaspoon, moving up to 3/4, and then 1/2, and then 1/4, and then all the way up to an itty bitty little 1/8. These are great to have, and when you're going to be cooking a recipe or preparing a recipe, it's good to have all your things pre-measured in dishes and waiting for you. And all you have to do is act like you're on the Food Network and just dump it in as the recipe calls for it, okay? Next, we have a sifter. Now, this is a variety of things. It's used. Why do we need to sift things? Well, flour sometimes isn't as soft or as airy as it needs to be for the recipe. Recipes that call for sifted flour are usually things like cake or bread. So what you do, now sometimes it comes in a container or a pitcher looking thing where you squeeze the handle and these things push the stuff through it, but you can also use something just like this. So I'm going to get my measure. I'm going to measure out some sugar into this, and this is how you would sift it. You would tap it. And can you see how it comes out? Or you can give it a shake. Either way, what comes down the bottom is much lighter, it's much airier, and if there's any big particles, they remain in the sifter, they won't go through. So this is when you want to create something that's really fine and delicate. You also have to sift things for frosting. The special sugar, that's what I was using, was a sugar. So that's always really nice. Let's see. We're into baking. So let's move on to a rolling pin. Rolling pins are used for pastries. You can use this to roll out biscuits or cookies or pie crust, because often those things need to be uniform in the exact same size. This is a French rolling pin because it's one solid piece, but there's other rolling pins where the middle barrel rolls and the handles stay stationary. Okay, this one is rolled out. There's none better than another. Sometimes people just use a glass cup, and use that to roll it over if they don't have a rolling pin. I like the rolling pins. I think it gives you more pressure and it's much easier for you to get that equal, thinner crust or biscuit dough or cookie dough or whatever it is that you're using to roll out. Now, they also mention a spatula. Now, two things have been called spatulas in my time. There's this spatula, which is used as a mixer spoon to scrape the sides down, and then this, which is used to flip things over in the fry pan. You can call this spatula, call this a mixer bowl, whatever. They've both been called spatulas to me. So they both have different uses. Just know the difference between each one. You use this one when mixing your batters and scraping them out. This one is used to take cookies off the sheet, to flip eggs over in the pan, or whatever it is you're going to be doing. This is a whisk. These are often used to make things like puddings, and you can use this to whip up eggs. These are very good, and even to whip up cream. That takes a lot of effort and work to whip cream into whipped cream. Did you whip cream into, okay. This actually introduces air. The way this has all these little different wires, you're introducing air into it to make it build up and be nice, light, and fluffy. They've done one better because they've invented electric mixers. I don't have the manual one, but now they have devices like this where we can put these in and electronically whip up things just the same way. I'm not going to turn it on, but you guys, you've used these before. I'm sure you've watched Mom use them. A great way to do the same thing that this does, only faster with more air in it. So these are used for that purpose as well. Let's see. This is a peeler. They can often look different. You use this to remove the outer undesirable parts of a vegetable, whether it's cucumber, carrot, celery. You know those tough ribs on the celery, the stringy parts? You can use a peeler to scrape those off, and they're not as stringy. It's really great. These can be saved and turned into a vegetable broth later on, so you don't necessarily have to throw that into the trash. But you can use this to make fun designs as well. Have you ever seen a cucumber that had just strips of the peel peeled off and parts of it left behind to make it look fancy? Okay, that's a peeler. You can use this. We use this when we made our apples. We peeled the apples with these. You could also use a knife, but can you get me a piece of cheese? Okay, so now we get to our meat thermometer. Now, why is this an important tool in your kitchen? Well, first of all, you don't want to eat raw meat. Now, there is some meat you can eat rare where it's safe. Beef is one of those things that you can eat rare. Chicken, you cannot. You cannot. Fish, you cannot. So it's in lamb, and there's others that, but even still, to know when it's the right temperature, you have to have one of these. And pork is another one you cannot eat rare. It's got to be well cooked. So you stick this in, and you can see on the device that it's got little temperature gauges. When you stick it in, this is a thermometer, it'll tell you how hot the meat in the center is for the meat that you're preparing. Many of your cookbooks will tell you to bring the meat up to a temperature of 160 degrees and it's finished. When your thermometer reaches that, then you'll know that it's done and you're not going to be eating raw meat. Because I don't know about you, I don't have x-ray eyes. I can't look into a chicken and say, yes, it's done. I have to have one of these to make sure it's done correctly. Now I asked for the cheese because this strange thing is a cheese knife. Not only can you use it to cut the cheese down that way, serrated, and use the end to pick up the piece of cheese. I'll do that and show you. Okay. But you can also slide this blade, and you have to be careful. I don't know if you guys can see it. We can slide this along and get a nice thin piece of cheese every single time. Cheese knives are really great if you're going to be entertaining. If your parents are having a big party and you want exact slices of cheese, this is a safer way to cut that cheese so that everything is thin and uniform. This is a pair of tongs. We use this a lot when we're sauteing, when we're cooking things in the pan. We don't want to reach our hand in there or get a fork close to grease or anything. So this is a great way to turn things over. You can use these also to pick up raw chicken and put it in the pan, because I don't want to put that on my hands. So I'm going to reach in and arrange them in the pan or the pot that way. So these are a great thing. You can get much longer ones for the grill. I'm sure Dad has a pair of long tongs that he uses to turn the hamburgers or the meat that's on grilling on the grill. This is a zester, and we use this to get the zest of orange, lemon, limes, or even grapefruit for recipes. It adds tremendous flavor. You'll see here, I just run it gently across the top. And then, oh, it smells so good. You don't want to get down to the white, because that's called the pith and it's bitter. So then you would move on to the next and so forth. There are many recipes that call for the lemon zest, and it just adds so much fragrance and flavor. It's really great. Okay. This is also a cheese grater. Have you guys ever been to Olive Garden? I'm sure you've seen this. Hard cheeses like Parmesan are great to put in here to grate. If I were to use a soft cheese like cheddar, it would get stuck in the wheel. So this needs to be a hard Parmesan, and Romano cheeses do excellent in these things. And this is something, not everyone has one of these, but they're easy to come by. And then we also have a double boiler. Now sometimes it looks like two pots that are on top of each other and they both have a handle. But my double boiler sits like this, and it can go on a much bigger pot as well. You can see by these edges here. Now, why do we need a double boiler? Double boilers are used for things like chocolate. If you want to melt chocolate, if you were to put chocolate directly in this pan and put it over the flame or the burner, the chocolate would probably burn. So things that need to be gently melted are used in a double boiler. A lot of times, well, when they're making hollandaise sauce involves eggs. If you were to put eggs in the bottom of this pan, what do you think would happen? They would scramble. We don't want that. When you're making a sauce that involves eggs, you need hot boiling water down here with this over the top, and it slowly begins to cook it while you're using your whisk to make sure everything is emulsifying and coming together. And then lastly, we have a cheese grater. You guys have seen this before, I'm sure. It's not the same as this one, but it's much bigger. This is the one you would use your soft cheese on to grate cheese for recipes, for taco. On the side here is what you would use for something like a whole nutmeg. If you wanted to shred that on here, it's really, you could scrape your knuckles on that. This is a smaller grain, and this right here is a slicer. You have to be careful, because you can really hurt yourself. This is what they call a box grater, and it's got 4 different sides that grates things 4 different ways. I think this could also be used for Parmesan and for zesting as well. Oh, and then lastly, we have a strainer. This is used to drain the liquid off of canned vegetables. It's used to drain the liquid off of hot cooked macaroni or anything else you have cooking on the stove that you need the liquid gone from. You can pour it into a strainer. What makes this one cool is that it's collapsible. Most people like that. So, I hope you've learned a lot. How many of these tools have you already used? And how many are you curious about that you would like to learn to use even better? All right, everyone. Make sure you watch this, because this is requirement number 3 for your Tenderheart cooking badge. Well done, girls. Requirement number 2.